Welcome back to Cool Club's headquarters here in Scottsdale. Today we are joined with our CEO and founder, Mark Timms, and we're lucky enough to have Drew Mahowald here from Second Swing. Welcome.
Yeah, it's been great to be here. Thank you guys for allowing us to jump in here and see what you guys are all about, especially the robot testing. Got to go see that at Sunridge today. That was awesome to see. Really cool to dive into the process of how you guys set up the testing, and then to watch you put that together and just to learn about your, gathering all this information. It's really cool as, a club fitting company, and you guys are obviously doing a heck of lot of that stuff too. It's unreal. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. We've been doing this for now a couple of years, and it helps our fitters out. But we want to help everyone, guys, your customers and customers in general, kind of determine what club's right for them. And the robot process is pretty tedious, right?
Oh, sure.
We make sure everything's exactly right, and we get all that data. And you saw at Sunridge, there's thousands of swings,
right.
and there's basically hundreds of swings on each club for each speed. We take all that data and we kind of narrow it down. Dr. Tom Mace works for us. He's a professor of physics at Cal Poly, but worked for R&D with Callaway and Cobra, and been on Golf Digest advisory staff for 30 years. And he takes all the numbers that we've got so far and cleans them up and kind of puts them down, and that's what we're looking at here. And he narrows them down to more interesting numbers that are simplified, and then we look and narrow that down further and try to make it simple for the average person and or even the fitters to what's the difference between these two clubs?
Right, because I think I think all of us here are club geeks, and I think we do our own comparisons of clubs, like on our YouTube channel, but this is a little more scientific than we're used to.
It is, and there's a lot of all the clubs are pretty good these days too.
Right.
So I mean, like for myself, I look at this data, I can basically. If I think about myself, I hit the ball in the center and on the toe a lot. So I actually look at those two positions only for which one's best for me. And, trying to decide between two clubs for me, which one's better, it's hard. You don't swing exactly the same each time. So, which one's actually better is hard to determine when it narrows down to a couple. Did you know in a fitting, you narrow it down to two or three clubs, which one's right? They're all right. You know? So
yeah, and it's a lot of it comes down, we try to go to the golfers and look and feel what they think. But then there's also, to your point, the way that you guys are able to use the robot testing and analyze the performance off of the toe or off the heel or low toe. Some of that stuff is awesome to add into the fitting and give another perspective though. So that's really cool to see, and it's awesome to have thousands of shots baked into this data.
Right. I mean, and really what we use this for is to narrow it down, right? So I mean, everyone says we got 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 combinations of demos on the wall. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah.
You can't hit them all. So if we can narrow down what the best clubs for your kind of speed and tempo, through the robot data and stuff, and help you guys do that as well, it just narrows down the fitting so you get more good swings on clubs that really make sense for the guy.
Sure. So the cool part today is, recently released, right, the King i230 here. So kind of a smaller club head compared to most irons, on the small side, a little bit more of a player's type. Been on tour for a few months, it sounds like. So what kind of testing have you guys completed with that, and what have you found out?
Well, we've done our full bob test at 80 miles an hour. We'll actually also do two other tests at 95 and probably 65 actually. It's lower, but not probably on this club.
Yeah,
65 miles an hour. No, that's not really what that's for. But we'll do more testing on that as well. But that's it. We really got pretty good information on this one. It's tested out fantastic, and we'll show you some of the numbers. But you can see from this, it's really clean looking. Relatively small score lines. Not a lot of offset to it. It's just a nice looking golf club, and Ping always does a good job performance-wise.
They're always doing well, and they actually it took them a long time to replace what they had in the i210. That one was out for a long time.
It's a great player's iron kind of
It's
thing.
in my bag right now,
Yeah.
and so that's why I'm particularly curious about the i230 here, because it is a candidate to go in my bag.
Yeah, actually, that was long enough ago that we don't have robot data on that. So going forward, we'll have all of them, but that was more than last year. So
so I think the cool thing here too is you have some information on similar clubs to i230, and I think that's what I, as the golf geek, right, dive into that stuff.
So we can look up on the screen here and stuff and compare a couple of similar clubs, right? So it'd be in the Callaway Apex and the 790. These are all top selling clubs, obviously, in the category. There's no right or wrong here. You look at, carry distance, you'd say, well, that's not great, but,
you got to take loft into account, right?
Exactly.
A 790 is 26.5 degree 6 iron, and these guys are at 29.5. So it's almost a full club weaker.
So we don't really worry about that too much. More I'm interested in what we'll look at is the plots and stuff and how far off center they are.
Yeah.
To me, but some people need distance or height, and obviously some of these spin a little more and go a little further. But they're all pretty good golf clubs.
Well, if you're thinking about the guy that's going to have this in your hand, like you said, it's not going to be the 65-mile-an-hour guy.
No.
It's going to be a decent player who wants to launch it and spin it and stick it on a green. And, that's what it does. It's one of the highest spinning models out of those comparisons.
Yeah.
It's landing at one of the steepest angles, so you've got complete stopping power and control over that iron.
You definitely do. There's some other clubs in here, but they're longer, but they're not going to stop as quickly. So, there's trade-offs on everything, right?
Yeah. It depends on who walks in the door that day. If you want the old guy that wants to just bomb it, you're like, okay, and maybe let's try something different.
The thing we always say is it's player dependent. We say that it seems like every video or every thing that comes up, people ask, well, which club's better? It depends what you're looking for. It depends on what you need in your game. So that's where you kind of have this data, and there's different types of irons. You got maybe a more distance-oriented iron in like the P790, right? But
it is obviously it's stopping power not as good. So if you're a high ball hitter, that's a great golf club. If you're a low ball hitter, maybe not.
Right.
So.
The interesting thing as well, you've got like the forged clubs in there, and Ping aren't traditionally forged, but this new tech with the kind of pocket in it and the polymer in the back of it kind of feels and sounds that way anyhow.
Yeah, I've never really been big on whether it's forged or cast and stuff. I mean, in an iron or even in a wedge, the feel difference is it's something, but performance-wise, it's not a huge difference.
Yeah, I think people have just been brainwashed over the years of like, I've got to have forged, and it really doesn't equate to much in terms of performance.
And you can make cast club actually softer than forged clubs if you want to. So there's soft stainless steels, and you can make them really soft.
So let's check out some of the dispersion graphs.
Let's take a look at those. So if we just look at kind of some of the dispersions, we'll look at the Ping one first, obviously, which like I said, came out fantastic. These are kind of dispersion graphs we look at. These are all different spots we hit on it. All spots in general. We kind of draw a circle around it. The center shots, you'll see those are always extremely tight. I mean, you hit a robot and it's dead center. They go pretty much the same place. I mean, you set a card table out there at 160 yards, and you're pretty much going to land on it every time with no wind. So, and then obviously, center heel is usually a little shorter, and this is the one I look at. Low center, because I do hit it thin now and then.
Same.
Yeah. So my miss is a thin shot. In the center or on the toe. One of those three. And then low heel is horrible for every club. So I really don't look at this. And when we do some of the analysis and our overall rating of the club, we look at don't weight all of these the same, right? So people generally hit it there, and it messes up all the averages.
Right.
So and obviously you get a shorter heel to toe club too. It's a big disadvantage to some extent, but it's more playability to some extent as well. So. That's the Ping one there. Some other ones similar, and you can see total difference between
the left to right is great on this club.
Yeah, I mean the centerless on this is fantastic. Which is really one of the things we see. But let's look at a couple other ones to compare them and see what they look like. Here is the Titleist. A little more dispersion right to left. Obviously, this is scaling, so it's not exactly correct. This looks like there's maybe something wrong with the robot data, but we take the average. Obviously, it's not going to change it. But another good club, pretty consistent. A little bit right and left.
Yeah.
Off center. You got the TaylorMade here, which is longer by far. Obviously, but again, pretty good right to left.
Sure.
Again, that's the heel shot that's so bad, right?
Right.
And I'm over looking at the center where it is on the toe. So.
It's interesting how the different colors actually move around a little bit.
Yeah, they do. In general, they end up in the same spots.
Yeah,
but,
you see, I think the low center shot here is further up than some of the other clubs for the P790 here.
Yeah.
Well,
they got pocket in the bottom, right?
Right.
Cut on
through
the
slot.
rail.
Yeah.
You got your Shrixon, which is a forged club. If you throw this out again and average these in here stuff, it's still pretty tight. None of them are more than like 5 yards right to left, but and then finally we've got there's the Callaway Apex, another one of the top selling clubs. Very similar, but you can see the Ping is as good as any of them, and super good right to left.
Right. Yeah.
Which for a players club, that's kind of what you want.
Right.
You really want to keep it straight. I'll pull the Ping back up again here.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So really good golf club.
Yeah. The scaling is just different.
The scaling's all different, so
they don't. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's a really good golf club. So
I
was impressed.
Yeah, and this is some next level stuff that I think the viewers that watch us and watch our testing, like, we haven't done this. We haven't gone to the different locations on the face and been able to take the data like that. So to see that is really cool, and it opens up so many doors, I'm sure, for you guys and fittings and
we got some ideas coming through to use this a little more effectively. But if you're out there, and we're going to start publishing this data in some fashion for the general public to see, and where you strike it predominantly, you're going to be able to go into a shop and like, okay, these are the two that I want to hit.
Yeah.
Right. And that's going to give you a much better chance than having no data.
Right. Ultimately, it's going to allow fitters too to just have even more confidence in the club that they end up putting in a player's bag, right? So, and looks
the
like
more tools the fitters have, right? The more they can kind of figure out which one's the right one. It's difficult to narrow down. It's one thing to do a fitting for Titleist only, and it's pretty easy to figure out which club you want.
Right.
But when you got 6 or 7 brands that come into play, it's hard to narrow those down.
Yeah, and then it's even the player that might think going in, I think I'm going to probably get fit for Mizuno, or I'm going to get fit for TaylorMade in this, and then they end up hitting all the shots, getting the data, and they see that there's actually a model or two that's much better for them.
Yeah,
and so
those happen now and then.
Yeah, that happened to me a couple years ago. So, but looks like really good stuff here for I-230 in comparison to these other models.
It's definitely a club I'm going to give a shot. It looks good to me, and
well, it's the first time I've seen the data, and I really like the look of that. And I kind of looked at some of the comparison data before we came in today, just on what they were talking. Ping's press release on I-230 versus this I-210, and it's kind of they've changed the shape for what I think is for the better player. They've slimmed out the top of the bag, and the bottom of the bag still looks the same. So definitely worth a look.
Right. Yeah, I know. I will be looking at it for sure, and this data is definitely helping me too. It's giving me a little more confidence.
Now you really have to look at it,
maybe I really need to put
that low heel shot's not so bad.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, awesome. Thanks for coming out, guys. Hope you enjoyed your time here. Appreciate you coming through.
Thanks for having me, and this has been awesome. So kudos to you guys for setting this all up. The robot testing. It's going to be a huge win for the golf industry as a whole, I think.
Yeah, we want not just to keep it all to ourselves. We're going to share it with everybody and hopefully help everybody get fitted back. Right?
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Your stores and our stores and everywhere. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys again for having me. This has been fantastic.
All right.
Appreciate it. See you again soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.